Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Monday morning, and you know what that means. It's Makeover Monday, and this is where Mara starts singing. Monday, oh, Monday morning. Am I frozen in your screen?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're frozen.
Oh, man.
It's a great pose to be frozen in, though.
Yeah, I know. My hands are up in the sky. There we go. I'm back. So Makeover Monday is, we decide whatever happened last week is over. Makeover Monday is a day to start thinking of who I'm going to become this week, this morning. What am I going to be? What am I going to become? Whatever happened last week, that's done. It's dead. The past is history. Starting today, I can change my life. Explicitly, we can write down some spiritual goal. And it can have something to do with the physical as well. You can, first of all, you can add more meditation to your life. Suppose you were interested in chanting japa. A lot of people on our show chant mantra meditation. So suppose you said, I want to try to do it every day, and you fell off the wagon. You know what? Pick yourself up, try it again. Suppose you wanted some quiet sitting time. Suppose you had a physical practice and you just sort of dropped the ball with it. Whatever it is, on Monday, we get to recalibrate. So it's helpful if you write these things down explicitly, what you want to add to your life, and perhaps what you want to let go of.
I'll check out the thread today, see what people are up to.
The Makeover Monday thread on the Discord thread is inspirational. Everybody's like getting rid of various,
Negative
drugs. No, they're just changing for the better. They're upgrading the quality of existence.
I have a feeling I know part of what yours is this week. You're going to dress fancier because I'm going to dress. You're wearing this incredible shirt. It's like, what is this?
I'm going on a bike ride today with Jeff Sims right after the show. We were bike riding from the Bronx to Beacon.
You're going to go down to the Bronx?
We're going to the Bronx.
Where in the Bronx?
Up the Hudson River. I don't know. Wherever Jeff takes me. He's got a plan. I'm just following his plan. And 55 miles.
And this warrants the fancy shirt?
If you want to know truthfully, I put it on just to see. Because my good friend gave me who's like a triathlon guy, gave me a bunch of like bike clothes. But truthfully, it's like it drives me crazy. I hate the fact that we always have to purchase stuff. Oh, I'm into biking. I got to purchase stuff for biking. I'm into this. I got to purchase stuff for this. There's like different outfits for different things. It's just people. It's just Americans trying to sell us more crap. No, it makes you go faster.
Okay.
I shaved my legs. It cuts off like. It makes me faster. It's a faster biker with shaven legs. Whatever.
Do you shave your legs?
I don't.
I just meant for this.
My hairy Italian just occasionally.
All right. Anyway, now I know why you look so cool today, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. So we are in a.
Hey! Before you go anyway, I want to tell you about my weekend, Raghunath.
Yeah, I apologize. Why don't I ever ask you about anything?
Right, I'm asking about your shirt. Why don't you ask me about my weekend?
How was your weekend? How are you doing?
It was a beautiful weekend.
This was the weekend that was supposed to be Rathayatra, right?
Well, actually, I'm going to mention something about that. But, It was like this incredible weather's perfect right now in New York, right? Like the best.
Yeah.
It's like beautiful sunny days and cool
Not too
breezes,
hot.
like perfect. And so, I hadn't been downtown since this whole thing started, since, 3 months, right?
Right.
And that's kind of, although I live
You're
uptown.
a downtown guy.
I'm a downtown guy. Yeah. That's where my whole thing is. That's where my service is. That's where,
And Gita's an uptown girl.
She's an uptown girl.
Uptown guy. There we go.
So I said, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm just going to, and also I'd heard that down in Soho, which used to be a neighborhood that had a lot to do with art.
Yeah.
In which, you know, it had been kind of, you know, taken
the
over.
Bob Dylan generation. It was very artsy.
Well, even
big
in our
old
generation.
factories. Well, yeah, big old factories that were turned into artist lofts.
Yeah.
In our generation, it became even more so the wealthy artists.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess you had to be wealthier to live there then. But still, even then, it wasn't what it is now. Now it's all like just those same shops that you see everywhere else and all that.
Yeah.
But all those shops have boarded up their windows.
Okay.
And so artists are just like painting all over the plywood. And so I heard that was cool. So I wanted to go check that out too. So I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just chant, and I'm gonna just walk from 96th Street the whole way downtown.
Okay.
So, you know, which takes about an hour and a half or something like that. So I'm walking downtown. Everything's beautiful. I'm doing my chant and I'm happy. And then I got to 44th Street. And then suddenly, like within the heart, the Lord spoke to me. And He said, you know what today is? Today is the day that would have been the New York Rathayatra.
Oh, okay.
And so for those that don't know what that is, that there is this festival ritual, right, that's been going on for probably thousands of years in Puri in India. That is
a state in India.
Yeah,
Orissa, sit in the city of Puri.
Yeah. That there's this temple. No one knows how far this temple goes back. Temple of Lord Jagannath. It's a Krishna temple, and they take the huge deity form of Krishna out of the temple, and they put him on a cart, and they pull that cart through the streets, and millions of people. Many people have seen photographs of this, like millions of people, and they're pulling that cart. And
maybe someone can pull up a India Rathayatra link.
Yeah. And it's
a unique form of Krishna. He looks like a giant totem. It's where the British got the word juggernaut, because when the British witnessed this, they were like, this is crazy. This is like some horrible force coming. And that's what the word juggernaut means. And they didn't realize this is their beautiful Lord Krishna. They put him on this beautiful
huge
cart
carts,
that they make every year.
Carts. Yeah, massive carts. And I'm not going to go into it all right now. Maybe we should at some point, but
let's have a Jagannath day.
Jagannath.
We'll chant the Raghunath Auspicious. We'll talk about the festival. It's the Jagannath day this week.
But there's a beautiful esoteric bhakti related meaning to it all. It's really beautiful. And so Srila Prabhupada, when he brought bhakti to the Western world, he also brought this festival. He had the very first one in San Francisco, and then it spread all around the world. And in New York City, the first year was 1976, and Srila Prabhupada participated in that. And since 1976, every single year it's gone down Fifth Avenue on the second Saturday of June.
It's actually an incredible festival.
It's beautiful, and again, it has a very deep esoteric meaning to it. It's kirtan all the way, doing the whole way. You see all these people that you haven't seen in a long time, and it's a big social event.
You feel also like, okay, the Bhakti movement has taken over New York City. That's what you feel like for one day, because you're going down Fifth Avenue, all the traffic stopped, everybody's singing, throwing flower garlands. It's unbelievable, and it ends in this great park, a festival in Washington Square Park.
So I got to 44th Street. Now, that festival used to go from the parade, used to go from 59th Street down to Washington Square Park. And then when the economy kind of collapsed, they changed it to 45th Street.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So for the past, 10 years or more, it's been going from 45th Street. So I was on 44th Street, and it struck me, hey, this is the actual day of the Rathayatra. And this is the first year since 1976 that we haven't done it.
Wow.
So I walked one block up. I walked over to Fifth Avenue. I said, I'm going to do a manasa Rathayatra.
Ooh, a manasa Rathayatra. That means in the mind.
In the mind. And
were you dancing in the street?
In my mind.
Oh, in your mind.
But, because there's so little traffic, I could actually walk down the street too,
Oh, okay.
I didn't have to even be on the sidewalk because there's two big bus lanes there too. So I was just like walking down the street in my mind, doing Rathayatra, chanting japa. And I felt like, hey, at least on some level that the chain that every year it's been done, at least it's been done on some level this year, right? And I was having my own little ecstasy there, walking down there and feeling the presence of Jagannath.
I'm voting a Jagannath day this week.
I'm sorry?
I'm voting a Jagannath day this week.
Okay, maybe we should
maybe one Thursday to be Jagannath day.
Well, also we
can tell stories.
Friday doing a Bhakti Vinod Thakur day.
Oh yeah.
Because Saturday is his appearance day. Let's figure it out.
Okay, we'll figure it out and then tell you later. This is how we plan things. We have our meetings right during the show.
I know. And then anyway, so that was cool. And then I hung out in Washington Square Park for a little bit. Then I went down to Soho, checked out that art. A lot of that art was really cool too. So much so that I did more or less the same thing yesterday. And then I had another cool thing was I ran into Ananta Govinda. I was just walking through Soho and
you ran into Ananta Govinda.
I heard someone go.
If anybody doesn't know him, he is one of our Kirtan heroes and friends.
Yeah. I mean, very dear friend. I love that guy so much. And, I hadn't seen him in so long. And so we spent a little time together, opened our hearts up a little bit on the sidewalk there. And it was a real pleasure to see him. Yeah, a little bromance. And I also stood outside the Bhakti Center, saw Divya's kitchen, so the little setup they got. It's all plywood, but, they got one door open and a table set up in there.
New York City's all plywooded up. I'm living up here downtown. On a farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went to Tompkins Square Park, did the whole thing. So it was a nice weekend.
You went on a little pilgrimage yesterday. Good for you.
Yeah, but took both days.
Good for you.
Anyway, I just want to say, if anybody's regretting that the Rathayatra we missed 1 year after all these years, at least on some level, it's been done.
Thank you for doing that on our
You're
behalf.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right, you ready?
All right. Are you ready to dive into
a new chapter?
A new chapter. And I tell you, this chapter, the title alone can make you sort of drop a tear. Oh. The disappearance of Lord Krishna. It's like, what? Yep, he appeared. And then he disappeared.
Okay.
It's like a little heartbreaking to even say it. It's not our favorite chapter. We don't even like to think about it.
Even like the bitter stuff in Bhakti becomes sweet. And although this chapter in one sense is very bitter, it's very sad on one level, but in the end, there's something so sweet that comes out of it. And I think that's our theme today, Raghunath, that with Bhakti, even the inauspicious becomes auspicious.
That's it. That's actually it. Write that down. Tattoo that, people. In Bhakti, if you're looking for a new neck tattoo, we can help. In Bhakti, even the inauspicious things become auspicious. Material life, inauspicious things are just downright inauspicious.
And once you auspicious add Krishna, things get inauspicious.
Yeah. Once you add Krishna to anything, that thing becomes auspicious.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know what the word auspicious means, then you're in lots of trouble. But auspicious, I've learned only from studying Bhakti philosophy, because that word is thrown around so long. Auspicious means of all good fortune.
Good fortune.
And inauspicious means the opposite.
Right.
No good fortune.
So good fortune grows out of misfortune through Bhakti.
It's really true. I've seen it again and again.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Ready?
Let's start with our magical incantations.
Auspicious incantation.
Narayanam namaskritya, naram chaiva nirotamam, devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatamurandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. By the way, I forgot to say it already.
Yeah.
If you missed yesterday's show,
oh man,
it was such a great show with our guest Dravida Prabhu. Do not miss it. Go back and watch it. I got so many comments. People wrote me. People were losing their mind yesterday, and he's just a perfect example of when you stay out of the political sphere, even within like a bhakti organization. Whenever there's organization, you have to deal with politics. And this is a person who's just sort of like just dove into spiritual food, and he's let it occupy his mind. And someone even wrote me in confidence. He says, you're bringing some old devotee on the show. I thought it was going to be a little old-fashioned, conservative, and he's a perfect example of one who just absorbed his mind in exactly what we're doing on the show, which is you're hearing and you're chanting. You're out of the material. You're not focusing on the issues of the material world. You're focusing on that spiritual juice, and it's bringing you to a stage of highness, of a spiritual high. And then you're bringing that out into the world, and it's actually having a deep effect on the world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu.
Julie Blondina is saying, I want him to be my new best friend.
He is your new.
That's the thing best friend.
That's the thing about people focused in bhakti. They're everybody's best friend. Yeah. They're actually your best friend. Julie Blunt, it's we call her Jules, actually. Julie Blunt.
Do we?
It's her birthday today. Well, she signed an email called "It's her birthday. Happy birthday."
Cool.
Jules.
Happy birthday, Jules. Has she approved of that, or is that just what you do?
I don't know. She signed an email like that, Jules.
Okay, well, there you go.
I like it.
Cool.
No, I'm running with it.
Well, my name is kind of like Jules too.
Yeah, Kaustubha is a jewel.
See, so there you go.
I'm like the big ragu. It's sort of Italian.
But that was incredible yesterday. And I saw Darcy. She was just like, this whole thing, I'm kind of into it, but it's a little weird, but I'm all in now.
You know what? That's what happens when you meet a great soul. There's this famous verse, right? What is it? Lava matra sadhu sanga sarva siddhikai. How does that start?
Sadhu sanga, sarva shastrakai.
Sarva shastrakai. Lava matra sadhu sanga.
Sing of the glories of sadhu sanga.
Yeah. All it takes is a moment's association with a person who's really focused. And all of a sudden you're like, what the hell am I doing with my life? What the hell am I doing with my life? And this is what happens when you meet a great soul. When people met Prabhupada for the first time, people literally like dropped everything and like, what should I do with my life? And you might have met someone like that. As soon as you meet them, you realize, I've got to upgrade my life. Oftentimes we stay in the same temperature, so to speak, the same pool water of the same people. And then we meet someone dynamic who's doing something wonderful. What to speak of spiritually dynamic. And it really makes us want to, man, I got to up my bar. I got to raise my game. And that's what happened, I felt yesterday. I got to learn more, right?
But even beyond that, like specifically, like in other words, yes, I totally agree with everything you just said. But then even beyond that, part of my feeling, even as it was happening, and I felt so good. I think for Raghunath and myself, it's our greatest joy to introduce people that we've gained so much from to people that haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
And
it was
so
my great pleasure to introduce him.
Yeah. So I could feel everybody's enthusiasm. I could just see the faces of everybody as he was chanting this. What one just cracks me up still to this day. I couldn't stop saying it yesterday. How's it again? Who stole my butter? Who drank my milk?
That was great.
Where can my flute be found? I bow to the cowherd child who shouts these words as he rolls on the ground.
That was beautiful.
But the point is, now, there's so much philosophy, and the philosophy is important, and the teachings are important, and the practice is important, and all these, it's all really important and convincing. It's faith building, but at the same time, just going to the sweetest esoteric aspect of it is also faith building, that there's this theology there that is so beautiful and so deep, and so sweet. And you have to hear that too. We have to hear that regularly. I think that's why people like your sweet baby Krishna, although you're giving teachings there, but there's that esoteric theology, very sweet theology too. That's really faith building also.
Yeah. I mean, all the other stuff of the philosophy is wonderful. You're not the body. The material world, there's a lot of pain in the material world. You have to be a little bit stoic. You got to step back from your senses. It all makes sense. But between like kirtan and these pastimes, it just becomes deeply enjoyable. Anyway.
And Darcy, nothing wrong with its self-initiation. We were happy.
We're happy for it. I'm excited.
Yeah. All the philosophy is just to get us till we open up to that kind of thing, right? That we can open up and with a pure heart connect with God. And then we need to know who is that God if we're going to fall in love with God. And that's what yesterday was all. It was just great. Loved it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how you get bhakti, from a person who has bhakti.
It's the only way.
It's the only way to get it. All right, you ready? Dive in?
Yep.
Text 1. So we're in Canto 1.
Yeah.
Chapter 14, text 1.
And most of at least many, like at least starting off, most of these verses don't have purport. So let's just read for a while. And
all right, you just tell me when to read the purport, I'll read.
Okay.
If there is a purport.
Yeah.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Krishna and other friends and also learn from the Lord of his next activities. A few months passed and Arjuna did not return. Maharaj Yudhisthira, that's Arjuna's older brother, then began to observe some inauspicious omens, which were fearful in themselves.
Omens.
By the way, this was an act of the entire old world around the globe. Greeks, Romans, Native Americans, listen for omens. It's a real thing. When you're connected more with nature, which we're not so much, there are ominous sounds. There's ominous, there's lunar phases that are ominous, or astrological things that are ominous. If you listen to had a primitive living guru teacher who just taught me like living off the land. He would say like primitive living.
You want to go back to primitive living. Okay. You have a guru for that. You need a guru to be primitive?
Yeah. You've got to learn like what plants you can eat and what plants you can't eat and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
And he used to say you can listen to like layers of birds if there's something dangerous happening, because they'll start calling out, and he would wait and we'd listen like that means there was something happening, maybe miles away, but there'd be layers of birds and animal calls, and it would finally get to you, and they're just warning each other. Anyway, there's omens out there.
Wow. You know another thing I did this weekend, Raghunath?
What?
Yesterday morning at 5 a.m., I just went out to Central Park. I went up to this elevated kind of hill, and I just watched the sunrise. Yeah. Oh man, I was doing that all last summer, but with the show, I haven't been able to do it. But now that the weekends is late, and I was watching the birds, they were flying. It was just bird traffic going on at 5 a.m. I think it was an auspicious one.
Auspicious. Okay. All right. So
a few months passed.
And Arjuna did not return, and they noticed. He began to notice inauspicious omens, which were fearful in themselves. He saw that the direction of eternal time had changed.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. And this was very fearful. There were disruptions in the seasonal regularities. That's like every day.
Yeah, that's every day. Something.
It snowed today in March, May.
Yeah, we've had some weird stuff with that this year. Okay.
Maybe global warming was happening even then. The people in general had become very greedy and deceitful, and angry and deceitful. Well, and he saw that they were adopting foul means of livelihood. Foul. All ordinary transactions and dealings became polluted with cheating, even between friends. And in familial affairs, there was always misunderstanding between fathers, mothers, and sons, between well-wishers, between brothers, and even between husband and wife. There was always strain and quarrel. Husbands and wives, quarrel.
Misunderstandings.
What? Okay. In course of time, it came to pass that people in general became accustomed to greed, anger, pride, etc. Maharaj Yudhisthira, observing all these omens, spoke to his younger brother. Maharaj Yudhisthira said to his younger brother, Bhimasena.
Okay, so Bhima's there. He's speaking to Bhima now.
Okay. I sent Arjuna to Dwarka to meet his friends and to learn from the personality of Godhead Krishna of his program of work. Prabhupada always said program.
Program.
What's your program? Like, right? That's like a Hare Krishna word.
Evening program.
What's your program today? I'm just the program. This program is this. I'm going to go to the supermarket Then the program's got me going in here.
What's your program?
Right? Isn't that? That's at least in the ashram, we always say, what's your program? Are you going to the program? No.
What, like a television program? What are you talking about?
I'm staying back. They always say staying back. Nah, I'm staying back. Right? It's like Hare Krishna speak.
Yeah.
Is he going to quit?
What's
Text
that?
8. Text 8. Is he
Text
going
7.
to quit? Text 7. Since he departed, 7 months have passed.
Wow.
Yet he has not returned. I do not. Isn't it interesting? Life without phones. Like Arjuna left. He's gone for 7 months. I do not know factually how things are going there. Is he going to quit his earthly pastimes as Devarshi Narada indicated? Has that time already arrived?
Okay, so remember, if we go back to the last chapter,
yeah,
when Yudhishthira, when Dhritarashtra quit home,
yeah,
and took up a new program of going out to the forest, that Yudhishthira was looking around. Where'd my uncle go? Oh no, what's happened? And at that time, Narada appeared and began to tell him what his uncle was doing, how he's practicing yoga in the forest. Don't bother him. Let him do his thing. And he said, and you Pandavas, you can also stay here until Lord Krishna departs.
Mm-hmm.
And so Yudhishthira saying, oh, is that what he was talking about? Am I seeing all these inauspicious things? Is it because Krishna's left? That's what he's wondering.
Okay, great. From him only all our kingly opulence, our good wives, our lives, our progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodations in higher planets have become possible. All this is due to his causeless mercy upon us.
He's not saying, you know what, all the good things in my life, I made them happen. He's saying all the good things in my life were Krishna's blessings on me, right? All the auspicious things.
Yeah. Just see, oh man with a tiger's strength, because Bhima was incredibly strong. Just see, oh Bhima, how many miseries due to celestial influences, earthly reactions, and bodily pains, all very dangerous in themselves, are foreboding danger in the near future by diluting our intelligence. Whew. Celestial influences. There's celestial influences happening. It's interesting. You know, we are, what are we, 70% salt water?
Water?
Yeah, salty water.
I've heard water, but okay.
Well, come on. We got saline. We're salty beings. Okay. Anyway, the moon influences us. In the same way it influences the tides. It influences, I mean, women know this from their menstrual cycle, but it's also the moon affects the mind. The moon has a lot of pulls. Just like in Ashtanga yoga, they don't practice on the full moon or the new moon because it's too powerful. It has too much of an effect on the body. When we're detached from that, we don't even realize it. We're just like, I'm feeling weird today. I'm feeling energetic today. Even Ekadasi, which devotees fast on the 11th day of the waxing and waning moon. Do you know that? I've heard that it brings up a type of extra carnal desires on the Ekadasi. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard that.
That's why it's harder to fast on it. It's harder to fast on Ekadasi.
You asked me, can I answer you?
No! Sorry.
Just kidding. But
no, you're not.
that Ekadashi is actually considered to be like inauspicious too, but it's another one of those cases where because you focus more on the spiritual thing on that day, it turns the inauspicious into the auspicious.
Yeah. So I think there's an extra pulling on the senses. So we go out of our way to pull back and we focus our mind and our attention on Krishna. I think tomorrow's Ekadasi, actually.
Is it? According
to Mara.
Okay.
We haven't even talked to Mara this whole show. Good morning, Mara.
Good morning.
The left side of my body.
The left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and eyes are all quivering again and again. So they say with men, if you get like a quiver in your eye, ever do that where your eyes like
it's going
throbbing,
yeah.
And you're like, what's going on? Or you get a tingling or something in your left side. Men on your left side, inauspicious.
Right.
Men on your right side, auspicious. Women, opposite.
Right.
That's what they say. I'm not saying that. That's what they say. Just see, O Bhima, how the she-jackal cries at the rising sun and vomits fire. Don't get that. And how the dogs bark at me fearlessly. Oh, be Masane. Now useful animals like cows are passing me on my left side. That's inauspicious. Cows should pass on the right side. And lower animals like the asses are circumambulating me.
You're like, whoa. Why? This is not good.
It appears that they want to make a void of the whole. Wait, no. My horses appear to weep upon seeing me. Just see, this pigeon is like a messenger of death. The shrieks of the owls and their rival crows make my heart tremble. It appears that they want to make a void of the entire universe.
It's almost a little bit like Native American things, or like people that were more in touch with nature. They kind of like, they picked up on inauspicious.
It's just all these old cultures were connected to nature.
Yeah.
The wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere.
15.
Just see how the smoke encircles the sky. It appears that the earth and the mountains are throbbing. Just hear the cloudless thunder and see the bolts from the blue.
So many of these things we've seen happen in this year, right? Remember back at the beginning of this year, there were fires going on.
Yeah,
Right?
those
So
were
much has happened
inauspicious
since then,
signs.
yeah. Okay. The winds.
You know, someone did a meme. This is like the time of memes. Someone did a meme of, what was that movie called? Back to the Future?
Never saw it, but okay.
Yeah, and they have the old professor said to the, what's the guy's name? Michael J. Fox. The old professor said to him, he goes, whatever you do not put 2020 in the machine.
Is that really from the movie or something?
No, it was a joke.
Oh, okay.
I thought you'd laugh. I thought
I don't know the movie.
Laughing.
You know, it's.
Come on.
Sorry.
Mara's laughing. Thank you, Mara, for something. Give me something back. The rays of the wind blows violently, blasting dust everywhere and creating darkness. Clouds are raining everywhere with bloody disasters. What? The rays of the sun are declining and the stars appear to be fighting amongst themselves. Confused living entities appear to be ablaze and weeping. Rivers, tributaries, ponds, reservoirs, and the mind of all are perturbed. Butter no longer ignites fire. What is this extraordinary time? What is going to happen? Yeah. The calves do not suck the teats.
Hold it. Slow down.
You're going to stop me on teat?
Yes.
Okay.
If we look at here, here's Yudhishthira, right? This super wise person, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a person that's grounded deep in Dharma, deep in spirituality, but he's seeing all these negative, inauspicious omens. And he says, Kalo yum, right? Kalo yum. Like, what is this extraordinary time? Kala means time, right? What is this extraordinary time? And then he says, Kim vidhasyati, which means like, what is going to happen? You know, like, what is happening? You know? Right. And I think a lot of people feel that way right now. You know,
what is happening?
I do.
What the hell is happening?
I'm getting it from so many angles. People are writing me emails. People that I speak to. There's a lot of strain in relationships. There's a lot of a lot of fear about the future. There's just people feel that the world is unstable, or I'm getting
one of my mother's famous ones is, this could be the end of the world. This could be the end of the world.
And like where I am, I do have faith in Vedic sciences like astrology. But at the same time,
it's about time Kaustubha starts talking about astrology.
Kaustubha starts coming around.
So I'm like not the
the crazy guy here. But my general mode in life is that either way, when we bring our mind to God, when we try to be dharmic and bring our mind to God, that brings auspiciousness. So it doesn't matter so much. I don't bother myself so much with astrological readings and things like this.
Yeah. Truthfully, that's whenever people ask astrology about me as well.
Yeah.
It's
even you like to talk about these things. You that's your mode too. Like you just move forward with your service. And
I like astrology. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
But the ultimate truth is we got what we got. And right now we got what we got. Can I become God conscious through my choices of reacting to what I got?
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. I like the direction that you're going in, but
no, I'm going to zip it because you have something to say.
Because what you're saying is going to be so relevant, I think, to what I'm about to say. Okay. So what I'm saying is that even though I'm the kind of guy that does not really gauge my life according to astrology at all, even I will admit that this time we are in a crazy astrological period, right? Like you're saying that it seems like the stars are fighting with one another, or the planets are fighting with one another. There are 3 eclipses within a month's time that we're in right now.
He's never been trained in astrology, but he identifies himself as an astrologer. Kaustubha Das.
Yeah, but at least I know this, that in Vedic astrology, eclipses are considered to be very inauspicious.
They're inauspicious. They're not
inauspicious.
Because people are like, it's an eclipse. Let's go lay on a hill and watch the eclipse.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. It's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Yes. And so like, for instance, Sri Chaitanya was born during an eclipse, right?
Yeah.
Which was an inauspicious time. But the reason why it was auspicious was because it was inauspicious. Everybody went to the Ganges, got in the river, and just chanted. So everybody was in the holy river and everybody was chanting when he made his appearance. Now this time is, if you're observing, you'll see there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of danger. There's a lot of instability in relationships, right?
Yeah.
That I think that a wise person right now is, don't be afraid, right? Let's not be fearful. Let's understand that the way this world works is it passes through waves. And right now the world is going through a wave that's a rockier wave. It's a bigger wave than we generally experience. It's just
rough waters make great sailors.
Okay. Turning it
tattoo time. Rough waters make great sailors.
If you don't drown.
You don't drown. It also kills a lot of people too, rough waters. So capsizes boats as well.
Yeah. But actually and I don't want to try to sound like an astrologer, but actually, there's another eclipse coming on the 21st. And then the third of them that come in succession is, I think, the 5th of July. And after that, let's just try to keep a cool head till then. That's all I'm saying. Keep a cool head.
Have you actually done astrological reading about this time, or you just?
I've listened to some astrological readings about this time.
You have, okay.
Yes, and so my point is, devotees should never have fear, right? We have faith in Krishna. We know that whatever seems inauspicious, we can bring auspiciousness out of it. We have no fear. At the same time, not a bad time to keep a cool head. Not a bad time to not push anything too much, and to just kind of ride this time out. And I think, and all the more impetus to do just what we did yesterday. Absorb your mind in Bhagavatam, absorb your mind in Krishna's Leela, absorb your mind in association with great souls. That's how you ride these times out, right?
You hold on to the lifeline of bhakti. It's really true. You hold on to that lifeline of bhakti as the whole world could even be crumbling. You keep to those certain principles of dharma, of, those 6 pillars of bhakti. What did I talk about? You try to be, you don't criticize. You take no offense. You don't dig your heels in them and try to fight. Yeah. You learn to love people. You train yourself to love. I heard this from a Christian preacher, which I really liked. Learning to love the people that are not like you and that don't like you. Isn't that a great way to put it? Learning to love people that are not like you and that don't like you.
Okay.
So what we've created, and I tell you, what's going on right now, it'll be interesting to see what happens. In the name of change, are we gonna hate?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to create change. Because with that desire to create change, which could be in its seed form a good thing, we want change. Be careful, because the ego is waiting for you to let your guard down. And then in the name of change, we actually hate the others we're changing.
Right.
Mark my word. It happens with animal rights. It happens with religion. It happens with politics. It happens.
This is so great.
Diets. I hate anybody who's not gluten-free.
That's a horrible problem out there in the world right now. It's widespread. But you began kind of like a positive movement when you were like a teenager, right? Like straight edge. You know, like, hey, here's something positive that I've seen so many people whose lives have been screwed up by drug use. Let's do this positive thing, and let's just not indulge in that, right? And then I saw I saw one documentary on the whole straight edge phenomenon. They were interviewing you, and you were more speaking about you were speaking less about what a positive thing was, and you spoke to the negative things that came out of it, where people, even this positive thing, turned it into a hate thing.
Well, you create an other.
Yeah.
So that's when, when I was 20 years old, we wrote the second song called Break Down the Walls, which was the more we identify on a person's otherness, you're never going to have equality. Like, I'm straight edge, you're not straight edge. You have to see people for something more subtle. A lot of people get this. They say, there's humanity. Stop calling everybody the others. There is a connection that we all have. In Bhakti, we don't even say humanity because that's very limiting. We actually say spirit souls. Our connecting point is that everybody out there, even the people that hate you, or even the people that are not like you and don't like you, we actually have something in common with our greatest enemy. And that we are actually a moment away from being despicable. So we have to be careful, because if you don't believe in God, if you believe in Jesus, you call it the devil. If you're in a Vedic paradigm, you call it Maya. If you're in if you don't believe in God, you just call it like hate. But whatever it is, that devil, that Maya, that hate is out there waiting to pounce on you. And we have to protect ourselves. That doesn't mean we shouldn't discern and say, this is not right, what's going on. But I'm going to hate the sin, not the sinner. And we have to see how we are all connected in this world, or else hate will win. And all our names, in all our ways that we want to bring about peace and change in the world, it'll be motivated by a type of one-upmanship, or I'm better than them. And I have to train myself to be, you know what? This is wrong, but this person is actually a pure spirit soul. And I'm going to love this person. And I have to train myself. When I feel resentment and anger and hatred towards a person, a red flag should go off in my head. Raghunath, you're off track. Once I have any resentment in my heart, bitterness in my heart, revenge in my heart, the devil's got me. Maya's got me. Illusion's got me.
I got a quote for you here, Raghunath. You ready?
Hit me.
Aldous
Hit me with your best shot. Oh, go ahead.
You have to be able to cue that up, right?
I need somebody here working the board. Tom Essig, come on back here.
So, since you mentioned the devil, right?
Yeah.
This is Aldous Huxley. Insightful man.
Insightful man.
And reader of Bhagavad Gita.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So he said, those who crusade not for God in themselves, but against the devil in others. All right. Should I read that again?
Read it again.
So in other words, our crusade should be like to connect with God in ourselves, right? But those who crusade not for God in themselves, but against the devil in others, never succeed in leaving the world a better place.
Say that again, Kaustubha. Say that again.
Okay, but I hadn't finished it.
Time to hear it. Oh, you haven't even. You know what? I'm going to get chastised by my wife.
I interrupted you
because she
today.
always says, stop interrupting Kaustubha.
I interrupted you today too. So those who crusade not for God in themselves, but against the devil in others, never succeed in leaving the world better, but leave it as it was, or sometimes even perceptibly worse than it was before the crusade began. So it's not that we shouldn't crusade in a sense, right? It's not that we shouldn't.
No, it's the biggest crusade.
Yeah. And the care that needs to, that we keep that pure heart, that we keep the good intention, that we keep the feeling that it's coming from the place of love.
I mean, look at Prabhupada, our Param Guru, our Guru's Guru.
Mm-hmm.
He was an animal rights activist, you could say. I mean, I can speak for me. I got that book, The Higher Taste. I became a vegetarian. And I can directly say it made me stop killing thousands of animals indirectly in that lifetime of the 35 plus years or whatever I've been a vegetarian.
Yeah.
He never went and came up to me and goes, "You dirty animal eater." He never said that. He talked about everything is spirit.
Right.
And therefore we should be kind and give dignity to every living being.
Right.
He watered the roots of the tree. He didn't water each leaf of the tree. The root is your spirit, I'm spirit, the planet's spirit, your enemy is spirit. Jesus said this, right? Love your enemy, right? Love your enemy. And we are training ourselves to see the essence. That's why the spiritual sidestepping thing is off track. It's not spiritual sidestepping, or you don't understand real spirit. This is Shabda Brahman. This is absolute truth. This goes right to the essence of the problem. The essence of the problem is we're not treating each other in our true form. Our true form is we're spiritual beings. And that is a powerful statement. And that's not just going to correct, that's just not going to correct what's going on in the world, between races or between genders. It's going to correct our relationship to the earth, to the environment. You know how I know? It's changed me. It's changed my heart. And I see how that's changed my kids. Like my kids, racism is not even part of their mind. They have to even understand it. Because I teach, we're spirit. Matter of fact, when they hear Black Lives Matter, my kids go, because they don't understand the context of it. I have to explain the context of it. And they're saying, what? Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. Now, if you say all lives matter now, everybody it's mad at you. But that's how I taught them from birth. Like everything is precious. Everything is precious. So they don't get it. In their minds, my littlest child, 6 years old, he's just like, in their minds, they like, well, we should rebrand that. It needs new branding. Because the idea, and I try to explain, well, they're going through a very suffering time right now. So we have to extend our heart to the Black community. But the way I taught them was, we are all spiritual beings. And we don't want to see anybody suffer. It's got nothing to do with skin. What is skin? Put yourself inside out. We're just a bunch of hamburger meat. That's all we are, is a bunch of meat beings walking around. The skin is a thin glove. So it won't be in their heart if you live by this stuff. It won't be in your children's heart. You don't even have to teach them this stuff. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
I agree, but
I'm not going to be in trouble for that. I'm not going to be in trouble.
I agree. At the same time, I just want to add one little thing to it.
Okay.
That I wouldn't say that spiritual sidestepping is necessarily off. I think it could be misapplied. But you see, I think also that one can just be can be artificially using spiritual platitudes and ignoring a reality that needs to be dealt with.
Okay.
So if I'm sitting here and I'm totally suffering and you're sitting there and you're like, I love everyone, but you're not willing to do anything to help me, then I have to question how deep your spiritual understanding is.
All right.
And so right. So that's there.
Yeah. For sure.
But I'm totally with you with the idea that that ultimately this all has to come from a spiritual understanding. That ultimately a spiritual understanding is what brings the truest justice and the truest auspiciousness, right? And that's kind of where we were at here from the beginning of this show. And from what's going on here, Yudhishthira's talking about all these inauspicious omens that he's seeing, right? And even he right now is like, to me, it was just such a fascinating thing to hear Yudhishthira, right? This kind of like the most learned, he's the person that passed through so many difficult tests and always kept his head so straight, and even he's feeling like, my God, what is this? What's with this time? What is going on? What is happening? This is such a strange time. And so it's almost a little comforting for me to hear him speak that way. And I don't want to give a spoil. I'm going to give a spoiler right now because we can do that.
Spoiler alert.
Sure, But in the end, what happens is Arjuna comes. Arjuna walks back in, and then Yudhishthira says, and Yudhishthira just looks at Arjuna's face and knows something is very wrong. And he says to his brother Arjuna, "What is wrong? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Is it that? Did you do something inauspicious? Did you do something wrong? Or is it that Krishna has left? Is that why it is?" And then Arjuna says, "Yes, it's because of Krishna has left." And Arjuna speaks, and then Arjuna says this one verse. And he says, "But there's one thing that's getting me through this, is that my mind keeps going back to those instructions he gave me on the battlefield. And that is what's maintaining me in this time," right? He says, he's speaking about the Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna says, no matter what difficult time I'm passing through, my mind can go back to those instructions that he gave me, and I can feel relief, and I can see things straight. And that's where I think we have to be. I think a lot of us are feeling this. We're in a difficult time. My relationships are strained. The world seems upside down. There seems to be so much suffering, so much pain, so much callousness, so much violence, so much ignorance. And all these things in one sense have always been there. But something with the way that the world is moving and the universe is moving right now, it's all coming up. So what we need to do is we need to connect with these spiritual instructions, and we need to take this inauspicious time and bring auspiciousness out of it.
Make it auspicious. Can I quote the Bible here? Can I quote the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas?
Of course.
I'm stealing this from Michael Theodore Radecki on the chat board.
Oh, right.
This is what Jesus said. "Men think perhaps that it is peace which I have come to cast upon the world.
Uh-huh.
They do not know that it is dissension which I have come to cast upon the earth. Fire, sword, and war. For there will be 5 in a house, 3 will be against 2, and 2 against 3. The father against the son, and the son against the father. And they will stand solitary."
Yeah,
I don't know where he's going with that, but well, the idea
I come to shake things up is what he's saying.
Well, yeah, and there's a time for a lot of evolution to go on when there's a crap storm going on, when there's rough waters.
Again, my hope is that I think we move slow as a society. We don't have good leaders that just lead us right down the straight path. But that from the pandemic, I have some hope that at least we take one step forward. Even more people will understand the need to care and love the animals. And I hope that coming out of the whole George Floyd, murder and everything that's that's coming up out of it, that we'll take at least one good solid step, towards racial justice in this country, and that we can all be, hopefully in our own individual ways, agents for that change, agents for elevating that consciousness. And as we pass through these times, that it's always going to be that spiritual soul force, that spiritual power, which empowers us, and as we go through it, let's hang on to each other. Let's love one another. Let's be kind to one another, and let's make this inauspicious time auspicious. That's where we're supposed to cue up the music right there. Right?
Oh, yeah, that would have been great. That would have been great if I went down, boom. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Oh,
there you go.
There we go. Thanks, Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Mara, how are you? You didn't say one little tweet on this whole show. She's still not saying anything. Are you muted?
No.
Okay. You just always sound like you're muted in life.
Just being quiet. A lot coming up
And
on Patreon.
I always sound like I'm on 11. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. A lot going on this week on Patreon, right?
Yeah, we got 3 yoga classes. Lori Pag, senior Dharma Mitra teacher, teaching at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Kumi's at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Jamuna Jaya at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Also, we have a class with our hero, Dravida Prabhu, Friday at, do you know the time of that, Kaustubha?
Yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern time.
11 a.m. Eastern time.
And then Saturday and Sunday, we got 12-step stuff going on right after
the
our
12-step
shows.
stuff is inspirational. If you guys have not joined Patreon, I encourage you to do it. I just encourage you to do it because a lot's going on. It's a Patreon party. You join for any amount of money. We're just trying to create a community here and to keep this boat floating. Unlock spiritual goodies when you sign up at patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And also, if you want questions for question day next week, you can email Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Thanks to everybody from all those podcasts giving us a listen. And thanks to everybody I didn't say good morning to on Zoom. We had over
and a happy birthday to Jules before she cuts out.
Happy birthday. Okay, Urugaya and family. Teresa G, good morning. Joey Eslick, good morning. Hey, Dana DiCiaro, good morning. Philly Chris, good morning.